She was just 26 years old, a beauty queen with her life ahead of her, when she left her home one quiet day in 1960 to go to church for confession, a sacred space meant to offer refuge, not danger. But Irene Garza would never return home. Her family, friends, and community searched desperately, praying she might have simply gone away for some air or time alone. But a sense of dread loomed. Days later, those prayers turned into horror when her lifeless body was discovered floating in a canal in McAllen, Texas. She had been raped, beaten, and murdered. The brutal crime shocked the entire Rio Grande Valley and beyond, not just because of the violence, but because of where it had taken place, inside the walls of a Catholic church. From the very beginning, suspicion fell on Father John Feit, a 27-year-old visiting priest who had heard her confession that night. Feit had scratches on his hands and face, and even admitted to being the last person to see her alive. Police found a slide viewer near the scene, traced back to Feit, and later discovered a shoe belonging to Irene behind the church altar. Yet despite the circumstantial evidence and the whispers among other clergy, no arrest was made. In fact, a cover-up began to take form, subtle but deliberate. Father Feit was quietly transferred to another parish, then to a monastery, and eventually out of the priesthood altogether. Despite an internal church investigation and Feit's own admission that he had temptations, the Catholic hierarchy did what it had done in many such cases: protect the institution, not the innocent. District Attorney Rene Guerra, who held office for over 3 decades starting in 1980, consistently declined to bring charges, claiming insufficient evidence. For years, Guerra refused to present the case to a grand jury, even after 2 priests and a monk came forward to say Feit had confessed to the murder in private. Meanwhile, Feit lived a free life, married, had children, and worked in a Catholic charity organization while Irene's family lived under the weight of grief and injustice. It wasn't until after Guerra left office in 2014 that momentum finally shifted. A new district attorney reopened the case, and a grand jury was convened. In 2016, more than 5 decades after the crime, John Feit was finally arrested in Arizona and extradited to Texas. During the trial, testimony revealed how church officials had shielded him, and how Guerra's unwillingness to prosecute had stalled justice. The prosecution presented evidence that Irene had confided in others about her discomfort with Feit, and that he had previously been accused of attempting to rape another young woman just weeks before Irene's death. Feit pled no contest to that earlier assault in a separate case, but had never been held accountable for Irene's murder until now. In 2017, he was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. Though Feit died less than a year later, justice, however delayed, had finally caught up. Irene's family, who had waited 57 years for answers, spoke of closure and healing. Not because punishment could undo the crime, but because the truth had finally been spoken out loud, in court, for the world to hear. Her story, long buried by bureaucracy and silence, became a powerful symbol of what can happen when institutions fail to protect the vulnerable, and what can happen when persistence triumphs over power.